Welcome to Hatman Strikes Back Daily Boxing News. So Ben Whittaker stops Liam Cameron in the second round of their rematch, but not without some controversy. Let's talk about it. I thought that Whittaker looked slightly nervous during the pre-fight introductions, but as soon as the first bell went, he relaxed into the fight very quickly. He was getting his jab off. He was actually a bit more assertive in the first round than I expected, and that was probably a good thing. He was looking to establish his jab. I mean, Liam Cameron landed some decent jabs of his own in the first round, but Whittaker was more consistent with his. He mixed in a few power shots as well, and he was looking to establish some respect, I think, in the opening session. You could see that Liam Cameron was going to have to take shots to try and get close and land his own. He was at a height and reach disadvantage. Going into the second round, Ben Whittaker boxed far more like I expected him to, which was to circle the perimeter of the ring, use that height and reach, the speed, the athleticism, etc. that he has, try and pepper Liam Cameron at long range, frustrate him and get him to reach in with shots and counter him. That's how I envisioned the fight going. And of course, I picked Ben Whittaker to win this fight on points comfortably. I didn't think he'd have too much trouble with Liam Cameron in the rematch. I said so before the fight, even on the live stream commentary that I did before the opening bell. I said I'm expecting Ben Whittaker to win this fight comfortably on points. Cameron to me seems very basic. When you got a guy like Whittaker who's that athletic, who has the physical advantages, and he's got that stellar amateur background, he should be beating a guy like Liam Cameron without too much trouble. The fact he managed to land that big right hand in the second round, hurt Cameron, and then stop him means that he actually exceeded my expectations. Yes, I picked him to win, but I didn't expect him to stop Cameron early. However, that stoppage was definitely premature. Now, I'm not saying that I believe Liam Cameron would have gone on to survive that moment, regroup, and then win the fight. I'm not saying that at all. I don't think that would have happened. All I'm telling you is, in my view, the referee should have given Liam Cameron more of a chance. He hadn't even been dropped. It's not like he had his hands down by his side and his head was getting rocked about all over the place and he was helpless. No, he had his hands up. Yes, his legs had dipped a couple times, and as some Ben Whittaker fans pointed out on my live stream yesterday, there was something like 14 or 15 unanswered punches. But to counter that point, how many of those punches actually landed? Because I've watched that sequence in slow motion several times, and only about 3 clean shots landed to Liam Cameron's head. 3 clean shots out of 15. There was some clean body shots, but I'm talking about the head shots, right? The ones that hurt him. Only 3 clean head shots. He still had his hands up. He still had his wits about him. In a grudge match like that, when it's early in the fight, you need to let it go on a bit longer, to the point where Cameron either hits the canvas or he's totally out of it, his hands start coming down and his head starts getting rocked around, then the referee can jump in. But that wasn't the case here. And so some Whittaker fans were trying to argue in the live stream yesterday that the safety of the boxers is paramount. I agree, but this is an inherently dangerous sport. The fans, for one, want to see conclusive endings, especially in a grudge match like this. When the first fight was controversial, you don't want to see more controversy in the rematch. You want to put the whole thing to bed. Secondly, as I say, it denies Liam Cameron the opportunity to try come back. And thirdly, it actually denies Ben Whittaker a conclusive finish. It does him a disservice. And another point I made yesterday is, I've been watching boxing since the 1980s. I've seen many tragedies in the sport. Very few serious brain injuries occur from early knockouts. When a guy gets knocked out, even if he gets knocked out brutally, knocked out cold in the second or third round, very rarely does that result in a serious brain injury. In the vast majority of cases, when someone suffers a serious head trauma, it's in a long fight, would have taken a sustained beating over 8, 9, 10, 11 rounds, and have lost a lot of fluid throughout the course of the fight from sweating, so they're dehydrated. That's, in the vast majority of cases, when serious brain injuries tend to occur. It's not when someone gets knocked out in the second round. So as I say, I think it was a premature stoppage. In my mind, Whittaker would have won anyway, but there have been other fights that I've seen over the years where I was certain that a fighter was finished, where if the fight had been stopped at that moment, I would have put money on him not recovering and coming back to win. Yet that's exactly what happened. I've seen fighters in worse trouble than Liam Cameron come back to win. To deny them that opportunity so early in a fight, in a grudge match, in my view is wrong. And we know Howard Foster's got a history of controversial stoppages. Howard Foster, the referee in this fight. He infamously stopped the first fight between Carl Froch and George Groves. Again, if you're talking about unanswered punches, well, when only 3 of those shots are landing on Liam Cameron's head and he's got his hands up and he hasn't been down and it's early in the fight, that's not something that you stop a fight over. Just my opinion. Anyway, as I say, Ben Whittaker won, as I predicted he would, although he exceeded my expectations in getting the fight over early, in hurting Liam Cameron early, and he proved a point that he's not feather-fisted. When he sits down on his shots and he times them right, he can hurt these tough guys. He's obviously not a Beterbiev-level puncher, but because he's fast and athletic, if he times a shot like that and catches you clean, it's not going to tickle. Moving forward, I'd like to see Ben Whittaker in against someone like Dan Aziz next. I mentioned this again in the live stream yesterday, and there were several people who said, no, Aziz would destroy him. Predictions are all just guesses, right? Maybe educated guesses, but they're still guesses. In my estimation, Ben Whittaker would beat Dan Aziz. Ben Whittaker is a very divisive figure among British boxing fans, and I think at least some of the people who would be picking Dan Aziz to beat him are doing so due to wishful thinking. They dislike Ben Whittaker so much, they want to see somebody smash him up because of his showboating and perceived arrogance, etc. Dan Aziz is like the antithesis of a Ben Whittaker. He's the opposite of flashy. He's the opposite of arrogant. Dan Aziz is like this spitting sawdust pro, as honest as the day is long, quote unquote humble, or the way he comes across to people, right? I'm not saying he actually is humble. I'm saying he projects that image. And so a lot of the British public want to see a guy like that, a down-to-earth guy, the way they perceive him, smash up the arrogant, cocky Ben Whittaker, who leaned out of the ring and supposedly spat at Liam Cameron's team immediately after scoring the stoppage, although Liam Cameron's team have apparently said that he didn't spit at them. Anyone who's watched my channel for any length of time should know that I'm not into making predictions based upon who I want to win a fight. That way lies damnation. I make predictions based upon who I think will win, not who I want to win. And they are very often not the same thing. Many times I've made predictions on fights picking the guy who I don't actually like. I don't make fanboy predictions. Okay, I try and be objective, dispassionate, take my like or dislike for either of the two fighters out of the equation and just look at the attributes of both guys in a cold, calculated kind of way. And like I say, for me, I think Ben Whittaker beats Dan Aziz. I'm not saying it'd necessarily be easy. I think Aziz is better than Liam Cameron, but I still think Ben Whittaker's got enough talent and youth, speed, etc. to get the job done against Super Dan. So if it were up to me, that's the fight that I would like to see next. And because the top of the light heavyweight division has got these two beasts in Beterbiev and Bivol, and Benavidez snapping at their heels, he's now WBC champion, there's no reason to rush a Ben Whittaker. There's no reason not to take him the traditional route, British, Commonwealth, European, and wait for those beasts to sail off into the sunset at some point. If you're thinking from a manager's perspective or a promoter's perspective, that's what you'd be looking to do. And even from a fan perspective, nobody is clamoring to see Ben Whittaker fight Beterbiev or Bivol right now, or even Benavidez, right? The vast majority of fans would rather see him in there against a Dan Aziz, and then beyond that, if he manages to beat Aziz, maybe a Willie Hutchinson, Craig Richards, and after that, the likes of Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard, etc. That's the path I'd like to see him go down. If he can get through most or all of those guys, then it's world level next, but a long way to go. So we'll see. Anyway, leave your thoughts in the comment section below. What did you think about Ben Whittaker's performance? Is it what you expected? A lot of you guys were picking Liam Cameron to win. Oh, yes, you were. I'm not saying the majority, but there were a lot of people picking Liam Cameron to win by stoppage as well. So you guys should be giving Ben Whittaker a lot of credit because he exceeded your expectations far more than he exceeded mine. So rather than saying, he's still not that good and this and that, you should be saying, wow, he's better than I thought he was. That's what you should be saying if you picked Liam Cameron to win. You should be saying that Whittaker has got a higher ceiling than you thought. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And before I go, make sure you check out my most recent bit of exclusive boxing content on Patreon. It's a 3-hour film study on George Foreman. That's 3 hours of me analyzing video footage, not still images, actual video footage of the most significant fights in George Foreman's career and explaining and breaking down what made him so effective. It wasn't just brute force and physical strength and punching power. No. Foreman had a much better boxing brain and was much more crafty and clever, even when he was young, than people realize or give him credit for. And I break it all down in a 3-hour George Foreman extravaganza on my Patreon page. If you want to access that video and many other boxing film studies I've done, as well as countless podcasts and what have you, just head on over to my Patreon page, which is called the Brotherhood of Reason, and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, there's no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, and it's very reasonably priced. If you just want to sign up for 1 month and then check out, that's absolutely fine. So yeah, don't miss out on my George Foreman film study. You can access that and my entire back catalog for a very cheap price. It's great value. All of the links are in the description below. Anyway, I'll leave it there. Make sure you guys like this video, share it, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm out. If you want to access this video along with hundreds of hours worth of other exclusive boxing content, as well as our members chat, just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called the Boxing Brotherhood. There's no contract, no commitment. You can cancel at any time, just like Netflix, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper. Just download the app from the Play Store or the App Store. All the links are in the description box below. And just a quick money-saving tip for Apple users. If you purchase your Patreon subscription on the desktop site or on Android, then you'll avoid the ridiculous 30% fee that Apple charges for purchases made on the iOS app. So if you're on iPhone or iPad, save yourself some money by buying your subscription on the actual Patreon website or on Android because it's a lot cheaper. Once you've made that initial purchase, you can then use the Patreon app on your iPhone or iPad thereafter to access and enjoy your content as normal.